Welcome, everybody, to the Trailblazer Community Group for Salesforce Business Analysts. We have a great session today. We have But Do We Need to Do It? With Leanne Botwright from the UK coming at us at 9 p.m. Thank you very much. And we're actually going to do the for real author spotlight that we didn't get to last time. Sorry about that. But, this time with feeling. All right. I'm going to move through these quickly because we do have a packed schedule today. Of course, our logo courtesy of Shirtforce as always. Some housekeeping items. The meeting will be recorded, edited, and posted on YouTube at our Badass SFBA channel. I don't know who Badass BA is. They took it before us. Apologies, but SFBA. Also, chat, and we will do our best to keep up. So don't spam the chat. Don't just kind of keep posting your LinkedIn over and over until we all connect with you. Like, that's the kind of stuff don't do. Raise your hand if you want to speak. There should be an option to request to be a presenter. So if you have something that you want to say, you can give us the option of letting you come up. I'm going to pause on that one because somebody just requested one. Can't do it right now. Sorry, but thank you for trying it out. Q&A for questions. So if you have a question, feel free to throw it into that Q&A. You can see it on the bottom of Bevy. And keep an eye on pin posts at the top. Currently, we don't have any, but as we go through things, if there's some links that we think you'll find useful, we will post them and pin them to the chat at the top. So if I can figure out how to, there we go. Our agenda for today, our introductions. We're going to introduce our wonderful speakers today. Then Leanne's going to go through, but do we need to do it? Very excited to have this session today. Then we're going to go through our author spotlight with Pei, and then 30 minutes of unrecorded Badass BA chit chat where we can talk about whatever we want to, and it won't be recorded. So yeah, there's that. Okay, introducing myself, Vanessa Grant, currently independent Salesforce consultant, Badass BA, and excited to speak to these other wonderful folks presenting today. Also co-host of the Salesforce Career Show. We're recording tomorrow. If anybody wants to add in their insights about how they feel about the year and want to talk about the year to come, looking for more folks to chat with us tomorrow. We have Leanne, who is coming to us from the UK. She is a global CRM commercial business analyst. She will be going through her journey and her position a bit more in depth a little bit later. But one of the things I do want to point out, and one of the links that we will definitely pin to the top, is that Leanne was a first-time speaker this year. So very excited. And one of the things that I think we want to do as part of this group is to make sure that we're always promoting folks that are speaking of business analysis topics within this ecosystem, championing BA causes and BA subjects. So thank you very much, Leanne, for being here and being brave enough to speak. This is what it's all about. We've got to educate the ecosystem, and that way we can make every project better. So you're helping to make every project better by being here. And then, of course, we have my wonderful co-host, Pei, founder of the Zenhao Academy. And on her second book that she's going to talk about a little later on today, and she will dive, of course, a little bit deeper into her own journey in the Salesforce ecosystem. And with that, I am actually on time. Woot, woot, woot. So at the 1:05, we are going to pass it over to Leanne. But do we need to do it? And I've got my little do all the things, which is generally how I operate. So I very much need this session today. Thank you very much, Leanne. I'm going to stop sharing and pass it over to you.
Thank you very much. Right, let me get this right and get the correct screen here so I don't share your faces back again. 1 second. Is anything happening? No.
Not yet.
Here we go. There we go. That looks right. I'll just pick you over here. Does that come through for you guys now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just want to first of all say a massive, massive thank you to Vanessa and Pei for inviting me to present today to the group. I've been an attendee of this group, and this group is so awesome. This was the piece of my puzzle that was missing for so long. So I'm glad to be here as a member and glad to be here as a presenter. So thank you again. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Leanne. I'm from Norwich in the UK. It's in East Anglia. It's like the little bump on the side of the UK out near the coast. I have been in the ecosystem since around 2015. And previous to that, I used to work in various different roles: customer experience, customer service, operations. But like many of us here and in the wider ecosystem, I actually started out as an accidental admin. I was working at the time as an operations manager in a small startup ed tech company, and they kind of asked me to automate some stuff and have somewhere to have all of the customers' data and just go and do your thing. So I found Salesforce, and that, as they say, the rest is history. But during that time, Salesforce was always just like on top of my actual role. It was just a little bit extra on the side, and I loved it so much. And I really, the kind of business side of things has always been my main interest. So I took the plunge in 2020, and I took a Salesforce admin role because I felt like that was what I really needed to do. You know, I needed to work in that position for a time so that I could get under the hood. I could go and have a little look at how everything worked, so that when I eventually, hopefully, got to my BA place, I'd know what the platform was capable of, and then I'd be able to, you know, recommend based on the platform and my knowledge that I'd learned in that role. So it did the job. It equipped me with those skills that I needed, and I continued to learn. That role led me to where I am today, in my very happy place as the technical business analyst at MSD. But along that journey, I met various different people and been given various different opportunities. I stepped in as a co-lead with my wonderful colleague, Chris Harris, on the Norwich user group. And I'm also now this year the chair of InspireEast. So it's the second community group in the UK alongside London's Calling. Few things about me. I'm very passionate about people, about mentoring and giving back to this community. So if there's anything that I can do to help, please just ask. I love a challenge, whether that is running a marathon, public speaking, that was my biggest one this year, and leopard print, actually. I love a bit of leopard print. And just to say that I'm very nervous. Like Vanessa said, this is actually my second time of public speaking. So I'm nervous, but very excited, and thanks again for having me. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is the role of the business analyst, why what we do is important, how to work with us for successful business outcomes, and recognizing and avoiding some of those common pitfalls. So what I'd like us to do is just take a couple of minutes to think about some of the mistakes that we've made along the way, because we're not all perfect. And we're going to put together the worst project that we can think of. So I did this in a workshop. That screenshot there is a workshop that I did a few weeks ago. It was a really nice icebreaker and got the team that I was working with thinking about you know, what it was we were there to do. So feel free to use this exercise with your teams as well. So I'll get us started. The worst project ever. I'm going to go for it straight in. We're not going to do any requirements gathering. So if you want to just take a couple of minutes, maybe just a minute, to just think about maybe drop in the chat some of the things that you can think of that would make the worst project ever. Nice, Kate. Yeah, everyone's an equal stakeholder. No meeting recordings, nice. No testing, because we never do that. Short deadlines, yeah, loudest voice in the room, the only one heard. No one says no, don't listen to the stakeholders, changing scope. Senior management wants control of everything. Oh, I feel like we've all been in this pot recently or at some time. Stakeholders changing the scope. Can't scroll quick enough with this or read quick enough. No understanding of the implications of someone's business needs. Politics, politics, politics. Vague SOW. Okay, these are all terrible but awesome at the same time. Thank you very much for taking part in that. These were some of the things that my group came up on, so those post-its that you can't read. So yeah, very similar messages happening all around. So we are not alone in this, and it is an area of focus that we need to apply some attention to. When I did this at London's Calling, I got everybody to stand up. Obviously, I can't see you, but just to let you know what happened, I got everybody to stand up, and then I told them to sit down if they'd ever been on a project or they'd ever done any of those things, and the whole room sat down and everybody burst into laughter. So it's quite a nice exercise if you want to take that and break the ice with your teams. There's another nice little resource, actually, that some people, if you've been around and you use Elements Cloud, there's a little page which is actually now hidden on the website, I'm told, called Elements Cloud Confessions, but you can still find it. And it was a resource when I'm alone, I work from home on my own, and I just go on there and I read through some of the things that other people have confessed about. And it does make some quite light reading if you'd like to have a little bit of fun with that as well. Okay, so I'm going to get into the serious stuff now. So why is it important to avoid those pitfalls and arm ourselves with the information and work smart? So as we all know, Salesforce has been integrating AI and automation into the platform for quite some time now, with Einstein, Agentforce now, and knowing its capabilities and your org's AI readiness, I think really should be at the top of our to-do lists. There's more clouds being added, a number of industry-specific solutions, and an ever-expanding ecosystem and all its partnerships. And we can't know everything, but I think it's really important that we stay informed and up to date and be able to advise our business stakeholders on the art of the possible. This is quite a nice infographic from Salesforce Ben. It is from 2023. There's Agentforce isn't on there. Agentforce 2.0, you know, it's updating all the time. But I think this quite nicely kind of is a visual of the scale of that landscape that we are having to tackle and deal with every day. So what is a business analyst and what do we do? So I took this statement, I think it kind of sums it up quite simply. A Salesforce business analyst acts as a bridge between the stakeholders and the technical teams, ensuring clear communication and better understanding of requirements and solutions. So before setting to work on any type of request, especially leveraging automation capabilities, the BA, when they're working with you, or if you have that BA hat on, you're going to assess a number of key factors. So first of all, we're going to define our goals. We want to clearly outline what it is that we aim to achieve. Having well-defined objectives really, really helps us guide that strategy. Next up, we're going to do our requirements gathering. So collaborating with all of those stakeholders that need to be involved, understanding and documenting those business needs. Don't underestimate that either. It is no mean feat with some of these projects. Then we need to prioritize those needs. So we need to determine what is most critical and have the biggest, or is going to have the biggest or most positive impact for the business. We're going to do some process mapping. We'll start by reviewing and updating that existing documentation, because of course everybody has documentation for everything, don't they? And if that doesn't exist, then we'll close the gap. We need to do the documentation up front. Then we'll look at the pain points. So again, engaging with those stakeholders, gathering feedback, understanding what challenges they're facing. We also facilitate data analysis and ensure that the data that we're working with is accurate, complete, and up to date. Because as we all know, if you have poor data, that's going to lead to ineffective solutions. We also get involved in the integration and system readiness. So we'll look at how the data is flowing between Salesforce and any other integrated solutions or systems that are being used, evaluate whether or not that current setup and related systems can support the planned solutions. And then we're going to support with the testing and validation, UAT testing, working with those stakeholders, sometimes holding their hands through those processes and making sure that those requirements, those solutions are meeting the requirements. And whilst we're doing all of that, we're making friends, because user adoption and training is so key. We're going to identify training requirements, help with training materials and support those users. And through this, we need to remember the flexibility and future growth, because can what we're proposing be easily adjusted in the future, and can it scale with the business and their changing needs? So I like this little cartoon, because for me, so often, all of those points that I just went through on the previous slide, the role of their BA, of the BA, and our responsibilities, they're overlooked or they're fulfilled by somebody else. So I'm sure somebody here at some point has fulfilled one of those things that I just talked about. That's the BA role, but you actually have a different job title. I need you to stop underselling yourselves. Call it out. Make it known that those tasks contribute to the overall success of the business, and don't just let it be absorbed. We spend on average 90,000 hours of our lives at work, and that's even more for those of us with all of those hats on. Okay, so let's look at this in action. We'll take what looks like a seemingly simple request from the business, and we'll work through that example together. So the business comes to us and they say, I would like a new field on the opportunity record. So when a sales rep closes a deal on certain products, they can tick a little box and indicate that commission is going to be payable. Okay, great, we'll take that. That sounds lovely. Let's just chuck it in the sprint. Let's go. That sounds great. No. Stop. What is wrong here? Should we continue? Or is there something that we should do first, or a question we should ask? Would anyone like to help me with what we might ask? Oh, straight in. Why? Oh, what is the problem we're solving? I was going for why, but also, thank you. Have you seen this slide before? Exactly. So let's ask why. So we ask them why, and they tell us that it's going to help identify which opportunities they have to pay commission on. Okay, right, yeah, so that makes sense. stop, okay? There's something else, is there something else that we should do or need to know about? And somebody's already had me on this in the chat. So exactly, what is the problem that we're trying to solve and who is struggling with it? So there's 3 things. When I get a little bit lost, along the way, someone's asking me something and I need to just pause, step back, I will always ask, why are we doing it? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And who is struggling? So what we actually find out when we go and have a little sit down is that Shelley in accounts, what she actually wants is when a rep closes a sale on products A or B in the catalogue, they should receive 10% of the total value as commission if they close the deal in 48 hours. So already, this is a completely different story to what we were presented with in the first place. And there's so many potential solutions that we could suggest. But before that, we need to go and ask a few more whys before we even get to that solutioning stage. And let's just remember, just because it can be done, it doesn't mean that it should. So I've got a little, just a little flow diagram simply here of what happens in the first, if we took the first route, we get the requirement, chuck it in the dev team, they add the new field. The salespeople are really happy because they've got the freedom to just tick that box willy-nilly, and commission is being paid all over the place. Sally's losing her mind, or Shelley, sorry, is losing her mind. It has to come back to us. We have to unpick that mess. And yeah, it's just not nice for anybody. We follow the process with asking the whys, get the requirements, do the analysis, give the dev team the correct instructions. We create a lovely process that's structured and secure, and then we're going to pay that accurate commission. And Shelley's really happy. So I'm just going to go to a little scary place for a moment. Imagine a world without business analysts. Please come with me on the scary journey. So without them, there's no one there to throw out those nonsense requirements. Some things shouldn't even make it into the development team, and they can be solved in other ways. BAs are there to challenge and explore if what's being asked for is actually needed. So when we use other job roles, other people who have other roles to perform these BA activities and tasks, that involves them multitasking, context switching. Therefore, we're going to get blurred focused, decreased efficiency, reduced productivity. Let's just let people do what they're good at. So documentation. BAs actually really love documentation. Let them do that. Let them create your Jira tickets for you. They'll even help you groom the backlog. So no test scripts or documentation. These jobs actually demotivate some team members. So creative or tech minds aren't so into this precise documentation, and that's what we're passionate about. And being interrupted by end users. The BAs can be there as that bridge in between. Let them handle those stakeholders, the one that's forgot how to run their report again. So if you're a solo admin, sometimes that isn't a reality for you. So not having a real person in the role, it's just not an option. There are some things that you can do to streamline your own processes, educate your end users and business stakeholders on how to work with you for optimum results when you're actually missing that physical person in the role. So I think these tips can actually be applied to all teams, not just those with real life BA. So set a standard, where what I mean by that is wherever your teams raise their requests, so Jira, for example, Provide a template and be really strict with them. For enhancements or new products or features, for example, get them to do the heavy lifting for the things that they want. So I'm not suggesting don't be helpful, but instead guide them and support them without doing it for them. Record your meetings. So use Copilot or anything else that transcribes. Spinning all those plates, wearing all the hats, you will forget something. We're only human. So use the tools as a backup, and then that'll allow you to revisit any questions that you have. So ChatGPT, I actually really enjoy using ChatGPT for parts of my role. User stories and acceptance criteria is one of them that I've been playing with recently. So enter the requirement and then ask it to do the rest. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to get it 100%. You'll probably, with the structure, get maybe halfway, 60% of the way there with that structure, and then you can sense check it, make sure it fits what it is that you're building, your current configuration. But it can be helpful in that way, and then leaving you free to go and do all of the other 101 things on your to-do list. Document storage and version control. So have everything centrally stored, especially training materials. Don't let users store things locally. It will get outdated. Use things like Confluence, SharePoint, Google Drive, or for training material in particular, I actually like storing it inside Salesforce. I like putting it in knowledge articles in the files area. Again, when it's inside Salesforce, it drives that adoption. And virtual whiteboarding. So host interactive sessions with users, get them involved, get them participating and sharing. Let them drive the change, because when they've co-created something with you, they're now invested, and then they make the extra effort then to adopt it because they see the value. So I firmly believe that the key to the success, sustainability, and happiness of a team is to have a great business analyst at the core. They're there to ask the right questions, know what the platform's capable of, so that together you can collaboratively design and build the smartest solutions for the business. So like I said, I'm an accidental admin turned business analyst, and a huge amount of my skills have come from experiences that I've actually picked up along the way. And I think that's part of the issue here, the recognition and the value of those skills. And just as a little reminder, if we don't play the role of the business analyst or have everyone involved, ask all of those questions, do all of those things, this is what can happen. So the key to conquering challenges and obstacles, whether you're a solo admin or a member of a team, lies within you. Recognize those roles that you just absorb and promote those, because you might already be a business analyst. And one thing I'd like you to remember when you go back to your desks is just because it can be done, it doesn't mean that it should. Thank you.
Yay! Kills me with this bevy stuff that we can't just like have everybody like unmute and clap and whatnot. But
no, it's really. I mean, I can see you guys, but it's really strange not seeing anyone else when you present.
Yeah, like even like I'm gonna complain about this every session we do. Is like I really want like emojis. Just give me emojis so at least we can see some hearts or something. But thank you everybody who is supporting Leanne, our now second time speaker in the chat. So grateful to you for championing business analysis topics within the ecosystem, and I think you've touched on a lot of things that I think a lot of us have experienced as BAs, and certainly made a good case for why BAs should be on projects. It does astound me still that people don't see the value, and that's where I think us championing business analysis topics comes in and makes it so important, that by having a BA there from the beginning, getting that documentation, not having to tear apart the thing afterwards. Oof.
Yeah, and I think one of the conversations I have over and over again with certainly leadership teams is you have a roadmap, that's great, and you want to deliver this thing by this date, say June 2025. You need to go backwards because requirements gathering, it's hefty sometimes. It can take weeks, if not months, to pull that together. You're not going to deliver it if you don't start early enough. So I think that with the along with the skills, like you say, Vanessa, it's the timing. It all takes time.
So I'm going to open it up to Q&A. If anybody has any questions, you can click on the Q&A box at the bottom. I think I turned that on properly. And Leanne can talk about her session, or if you guys have any questions about what it's like to be a first-time speaker talking about BA topics. Leanne, how did you come up with your session? I would like to know.
I think I'd written something. I'd written an article on LinkedIn, and it kind of was born from that. It was about the skills, the undervalued skills. And there wasn't, apart from you, Vanessa, there wasn't anybody else talking about it. So I was like, actually, I think you said something about coming to talk about it. And I thought, okay, right, I'm going to give this a go. So yeah, that was where it was kind of born from.
Excellent. I'm happy my earworm kept developing. I was actually you were talking about the recordings, and that was like you said what's the worst project you've been on, and I said, like, for me it's like if you don't have recordings, and then you mentioned the importance of recordings afterwards. Like I'm it so important, and I'm personally I'm on Friday. I had a manager on the project that one of the projects that I'm on that was like, okay, everybody, we shouldn't rely on recordings. Everybody take internal notes, and then we're all going to put them all together and consolidate them, and we should only be working on that. And I'm like, so it's you touched on my own personal challenges these days. The tough projects never end. Exactly, Becca. It's the who consolidates notes. So does anybody have any questions? Pei, do you have any questions for Leanne?
I was just going to say that the reason why I think, this is my personal opinion, why business analysis haven't been given, enough importance, is because everybody thinks that it's very easy to do. How hard can it be to ask someone what they want? But there's just a lot more to, as you pointed out, Leanne, all the things that we do, it's not as critical or as sexy as actually doing the build and seeing something, materialize, click a button and sexy things happen. We don't see that. So the things that we do as business analysts or project managers is like behind the scene, putting the glue together, making sure that that we're building the right car for getting from A to B, and asking the right questions. And I think a lot of people just think, well, anyone can do that, which is why, this is my opinion anyway, that it's why it's undervalued. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, alongside that, it's knowing how to dig into what somebody's asking you for, because 9 times out of 10, some of the stakeholders I work with, and they're all levels of abilities and knowledge in the platform, they'll come to me and ask for what they want. They've already decided, and it's unpicking that, because they've been thinking about this for a while. They've had this business issue or this problem, perhaps, that they've had for quite some time, and they've already decided what their workaround is, and they've decided that they need a field and they need a button and they need, this, that, and the other. So I'm coming in at the point of that conversation where they've already decided how they're going to solve the problem. So it's almost taking them all the way back to the start of their thought process and saying, what is it that you're actually trying to achieve? What's the problem you're trying to solve? And then building it back up again, showing them what might be possible, using, I don't know, a POC or something that if you work in various different orgs, showing them something else that's similar, to put it into some context that they didn't even know that was possible. But you have to spend the time working backwards to really get to the root of it.
So when you're, since you have done some project management, I have oftentimes BA kind of maybe struggled with the project managers where I'm like, maybe having to educate the folks the stakeholders that I'm interviewing, as well as the project manager, on why it's important that I do things the way that I do them. Where I think a lot of times project managers or even like executive sponsors or whoever is, managing the budget for a particular project might be like, no, like we have some documentation from 3 years ago. Just look at that and move forward. How have you had to deal with, or have you found any ways to kind of successfully, I guess, educate the folks that are on the project on the value that business analysts bring to the project? 'Cause I think even as a delivery team, sometimes it can be challenging to get that across.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been on projects before where, it's clear that we are not going to be able to deliver all of the things with these people and this amount of time. So you say, right, so what one are you going to cut? Which one is not actually going to, you've got to take one out. Which one are you going to take out? And I've been in the room and I've faced up with somebody that said, none of it. You have to make it all work. And you're like, okay, well, then we go through prioritization. So I need to know what order to work on first. And normally during those sort of conversations, when you get to maybe you've done 1, 2, and 3, it's already far enough down the line that they're realizing, hang on a minute, this is much more than I ever, they'll come round to it eventually. They might not like it, but as time passes, they will realize that the project is a bigger beast. Everyone's working really hard. But I think in those sort of situations, the communication is very, very key. Make sure those stakeholders meet with you at whatever cadence that meeting is set for. So if it's weekly, make sure that person is there weekly so that they are hearing the volume of conversations that are happening, the type of conversations, the blockers. Have a RAID log, raise the risks, work with the project manager to make sure that those messages are going up to leadership and where there are those risks that they're aware of them. It's just communication at that point, I think.
All right, we've got one question and then we'll transition over to Pei. Have you allowed a client to critique business requirements from multiple stakeholders within a group context?
Yes. So something that I'm working on at the moment is a global solution. So we do have to have it, fit for all of the markets. The way we're doing it in this approach is to go with the biggest. So where our biggest markets are, start with the first one, gather the requirements, and then almost do a show and tell with the next one. So number 2 in line, let them come, give their feedback. Hope it's not wildly different. And explaining, again, that communication piece that, you can have something different, but how are you going to fund it to be supported? And it will take you longer if we do it for you like that. and laying out what it means if they go into kind of silos of how they're going to use it. Does that answer that? I'm not sure if I caught the question properly.
They threw in to clarify, allow your client stakeholders to critique each other's business requirements, and you stand back and evolve/devolve. Are they understanding that properly?
I'm not sure I've got the question.
No, I think they seem clear. It's basically you're. Oh.
Allow me to share my thoughts on this. So if I understand the question correctly, is, how many people do you want, how many cooks do you want in the kitchen, from my understanding? So if I look at it from a consulting standpoint, I would say that projects or within organizations that do not have very strong championship, executive sponsor who can make decisions, and if you devolve it on groups to try and come up with solutions or critique each other, you're going to get into a big mess. So I've been in many of those organizations where you've had multiple teams who are all wanting to shout very loud and wanting their own process, or they'll say mine is better than yours for whatever reason. So I've seen those projects actually stall for that reason, again, because there's no strong executive sponsor to say, hey, I've of all the requirements that I've heard, I think this is the way we should do it for these reasons. These are the the drawbacks, and these are the benefits. So that's where that's where I see projects are successful. If you don't manage that, then it is going to meander and kind of like stall.
Yeah.
I hope I answered that question.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you, Leanne, so much for coming. I hope you can stick around for BA Chat After Dark. But if it's late and you gotta run, totally understand. Pei, do you want to share slides, or do you want me to share?
Can you share, please?
Absolutely. Anything to support my favorite co-lead.
For real. I love that.
for real this time.
Okay, hi everyone. I just wrote my second book, this one. So it's the Successful Salesforce Projects 101 Client's Guide to Stress-Free Implementation. And this one looks at it from the client's point of view and how to actually set up a project for success, from kind of like beginning to end, for somebody who doesn't quite know how to get started. Second slide, please. So this is me. I've done, 30 years of project delivery, half in Microsoft, half in Salesforce. I've done the BA side of things. I've done project management. I've been on Microsoft side, data solutions architect. And when I came over to Salesforce, I thought I'd leave it to all the clever people. I would just stay in project management. So this is kind of like where I am and where my my background is. So next slide, please. Right. So what is this? I decided that I would write. I was getting so many questions from many people about how to make sure that they are set up for success before the partner comes along. So my first book was through the lens of a consulting partner who's about to run a discovery. So that one is more focused around how to approach the questioning process, how to sales delivery handover, and all of that. This one is from the client side and is told through a story of Data Nova. And my lovely assistant will take me to the next slide. Right. So what makes it different from a lot of the other books that I see in the market is written from the client's perspective. So if you are about to embark on your own project, it tells it in a relatable way. And it follows the narrative from beginning to end. And I've structured each chapter so that the first part is a story. And the second part, I'm actually doing a postscript, so a bit like I don't know if anybody watches any of the nature programs, like David Attenborough. I'm talking like a third person, what's happening with this individual and that individual, and how you make sure you set it up correctly. So that's how I've chosen to write that. And I balance technical knowledge with more practical bits that I've learned. So you can tell that I got ChatGPT to help me do it, because I can't say those words without tripping. Features, memorable, doodles, plenty of doodles, a lot of real world scenarios, and it's got templates and tools as well towards the end. So the two things that I'm most proud of at the end of the book is a sample business case and a sample request for proposal. So a lot of people don't know how to write them. So I decided, here's an example that you can have a look that will help you kind of like do them when it's your turn. Next slide, please. So I always like to approach things with a design thinking point of view. Who did I write it for? I have written it for people who are about to embark on projects. As I said, you're a project sponsor or stakeholder. You want to succeed. What makes a project? You want to understand what makes projects succeed, and you want some practical notes how to avoid stuff, and you're looking for real world sort of like examples. And I have a few, Leanne's what's your worst project? For a lot of us, it's like, PTSD again. You're bringing all the memories. Oh my goodness, where's my therapist? So I have a lot of those. We all do, Vanessa, as well. So, so these are my learnings and how I can help you so that you don't have to go through them. So next slide. Okay, so a few key themes I want to share with you. Next one, please. Okay, so the key thing is empathy and influence. That is one. So the chap with the beard, his name is Ungu, and Ungu is the project manager on the client side. And one of the things that he's got to do is to sell a business case. We need a new CRM. That CRM's got to be Salesforce. How do I get my executive team to approve this spend? And what he's got to do is to understand each person, what's important to each of them, and make sure they put their argument forward that would address all the issues that the people in the executive team would have. Next, please. I am coming right after Leanne with the hold on. Yes, understanding what is the truth that we are trying to solve here. And if you have a client side and a partner side, what are the things that you need to have in place so that when nasty things come around, you are able to talk about it? Oh my goodness, Mr. Customer, the latest release, Salesforce release, has really messed up our UAT, and we've got to fix it, and it's going to cost more because we need to rework all the SSO and things like that. So these are the things that you need to have in place: mutual respect, communication, as Leanne said earlier on, clear roles and responsibility, teams who can actually do the work. Strong project management and governance is also part of all the things that make good partnership work. Next slide, please. This was what I meant to say. So know your why, and it comes straight after Leanne's talk. Is just so apt. Business case questions. There are three things: viability, feasibility, and desirability. So do we really need it? Can we do it? And should we do it? So if you look at all the things that we want to build, make sure these three pillars are strong and robust so that you can make sure you get long-term business value out of whatever it is that you are bringing forth into the world within your organization. Next slide, please. I drew this and I made these, I don't have it here. Right, so I made these little things, and Fred. So Fred is my scope creep. I had to give him a name. And the first person I gave my little card to was uh, an architect in French Touch, and her name was Frederique. And he goes, "How? Why did you? Why did you name Scope Creep Fred?" Anyway, I wanted to show the fact that scope creep is real, but you know what? It is human nature to want and to ask for and to try and get away with as much as we can. So I say, I'm Chinese and we're always asking for discounts, whatever, wherever we go, we're always haggling. My husband gets a bit embarrassed. But it's human nature. If you can get away with asking for 24 features within the next sprint that wasn't meant to be there, you're going to ask for it. So accept that users are human, and that's what they're going to do, and just manage it. So, the book talks about it a little bit. Next slide, please. And the key thing that what I think is useful for organizations to understand is the concept of shift left. Now, this is taken from testing. The idea is that the sooner you test your idea, your concept, your pilot, the sooner you're going to find what works and what doesn't work, and you can course correct. Because if you wait to test later on, it's going to be more expensive and more painful. So the things that Leanne was talking about earlier on, which was asking why and peeling back the layers and digging deeper and deeper into why do you want to do this? What's the real driver for this? Are we doing the right thing? Are we building the right thing? The sooner you get to the answer, and even if the answer is not palatable, the less painful it's going to be compared to if you wait till later. So those are the key themes from the book, and it's all to do with trying to help people run projects better. So that's the end of my bit, and I think we got question time now. Any questions?
Well, first, just thank you, Pei, for going through that with us. Everybody loves the doodles in the chat. Folks, if you guys have any questions for Pei on her book, or any questions on the contents of the book or Pei herself, or happy to bring those up. You can talk about them in the chat or bring them up in the Q&A. One of the things that came up, Pei, though, are the folks colors representative of specific roles? I believe they are, but if you could go into maybe your doodles and how they apply to your book, I think that would be great to kind of bridge that gap.
Oh, okay. They weren't intentional. And when I wrote my first book, I decided, and I have this little app on my phone, and the only way I could differentiate the stick figures was actually the color of the hair. And so I decided to name each character, it's a color. So Ungu is actually purple in the Malay language. And if you look at the character's name, it's different language will be the color of the hair. And it just so happened that purple in my head is like project management, and red was a new graduate, and it just sort of came that way. It wasn't intentional. No real thought into that.
So two questions came in that are related. One, where do we find the book? And two, of all the places we can find the book, where do you get the most value as far as where people should choose to purchase this book?
Thank you very much for that question, Becca. I think if you lead to the next slide, Vanessa.
Yes, I was like, perfect.
Thank you. So thank you, Becca, for asking that question. Where do I get the most? I'm not in it really for the money. I one book earns me enough for like one frappuccino, if that, and it's now like one boba for my daughter. So I don't earn very much from it. It's very much I get so many questions about things, so I just decided to write it. But if you do want to get a copy, a signed copy from me. So I will buy this and I will post it to you. I will sign it. And there's also some free gifts. So I made these exclusive bookmarks on Fred, and the questions to ask at the back. Do you really need this? Actually, Leanne, I had this before your talk. Do you really need this? Is this a nice to have disguised as a must have? How will this change your life? Who else thinks this is a good idea, etc.? So I'm very limited. So these will only go out to those who have donated to Samaritans. And if you don't know, Samaritans is really close to my heart. It's a charity in the UK that supports callers who are going through emotional distress, who are feeling suicidal. So if you can donate £50, that helps us talk to 10 callers. So callers on the phone, on email, on web chat. It costs us £5 to keep the lights on, to pay for, we use Salesforce as well, for everything, the implementation of our system, and chocolates and biscuits for the volunteers. When we go through the graveyard shift, sorry, that's not great. The midnight shift, I am powered by chocolate and biscuits, so that kind of helps us. So thank you to all those who, Vanessa, thank you so much. Your book is winging its way to you. So Becca and Gideon, if you want, I would so love it if you can donate to Samaritans, but if not, you can get it off Amazon as well. So there you go.
And do you have to be in the UK in order to take advantage of this donation for a signed copy?
No, because I'm posting everywhere around the world. I'm posting to you, Vanessa, to the States.
I didn't know if I was special.
You are special, but I am, like I said, I'm buying this book. I'm paying for postage. I'm all these free gifts. It comes out of my pocket, but this one means so much to me that you are supporting my charity, and that means a lot to me because I've been a volunteer for about 15 years. And before this, in a previous life, I think I would have been a caller had I known about Samaritans. So for those of us who've been in that space, you will know how having someone to listen to you who's not judgmental, who you can talk to about, some of the really heavy things that you're going through, is, especially now, Christmas and holiday time, is really tough for many, many people. So thank you for everyone who supports through this or in any way that you can. So thank you. I hope I answered those questions.
Thank you, Pei. I pinned the link to where to donate on the chat, but the QR code's still here. I think we still have time for a question or two if anybody's got them. I do have one, since we are in our BA group. If you could make every business analyst read just one chapter of your new book, which would it be?
Oh, you did ask me to prep that, but I didn't. I thought about it and I totally forgot. But I think actually the most important thing, the concept of shift left and asking why, going back to what Leanne's talk was about, everything else is actually not very useful if you're not addressing the right problems and you are building, what's that saying? If you are making, if you have a map, but you're going the wrong direction, the map is not very useful. So figure out where you want to go and then build a map and then create the route to get you there. So the most important one would be the business case, how to write a business case, how to get justification, how to look at the cost. So in the book, there's an example of what Ungu is going through, which is to look at, so we need Salesforce. Do we build it ourselves or do we get a partner to do it? How do we calculate how much it's going to cost, and how do we evaluate the best way to do things? So I had this project when I freshly moved from Microsoft to Salesforce, and we had this one client who I was thinking about when I wrote this. They wanted a solution that actually addressed the problem. So they had like a beauty parade. They got they chose a partner from Microsoft, they chose a partner from Salesforce, and said, both of you can have a discovery and both of you need to present your solutions to us. So I narrate about this in the book, and how they make the decisions was based on, what gave them the best value. and a fit, because when you pick a partner, you'll be working with them a lot. You'll be working with the team. You want to make sure that you're working with people who shares your values and who will help you get your objective and your goal in the long term.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pei. I'm so glad we finally got this author spotlight in. I think we are ready to at least close our recorded portion of this meeting and then move into our Badass BA chat, I guess, after dark if you're in the UK. Otherwise, in the afternoon. So thanks everybody for coming. We should be meeting again in the new year. Stick around if you are wanting to come up and chit chat about business analysis topics or have any challenges or celebrations. I can move into this. Thanks everybody. I'm going to stop the recording now.